I'm Sara Gonzales. Welcome to the news and why it matters. Glenn, what was the top story for you?
Top story today. Let me see what I wrote down.
I'd say the border.
Yes, the border.
If I were to go.
Okay, so yes, I'm sorry. It's been a very long day. So the juxtaposition between the border and Jim Acosta is just too entertaining to pass up.
All right, still.
China implementing their social credit system, and we have the first results from this. And you might think they're from like some, group that's trying to shine a light on these terrible practices. No, it's from actually the government of China telling us what they're doing. They're proud of this, and what they are proud of is amazing.
This is terrifying. All right, Jason.
I heard Glenn talking about this morning on radio, and it got me thinking some weird, or not weird, but just some disturbing trends when you look at what happened after World War II, before, from World War I leading up to World War II, what happened after that, and what we're now seeing with Ukraine and Russia.
All right, obviously got a lot to get into on this Monday, but before we do that, want to thank our sponsor, Brick House. So did you guys have any vegetables with your Thanksgiving meal?
Mashed potatoes. That's a vegetable.
Did you have like a healthy vegetable?
So my wife yelled at me. My wife yelled at me because I said, "We don't need broccoli." And she said, "It has cheese and crackers on it." And I'm like, okay, well, that makes it better if we could just get rid of the broccoli. But I did not have any of the broccoli. I didn't have to.
Yeah, you don't have to with Field of Greens. So if you don't like to eat your vegetables, you can drink your vegetables now.
And that sounds horrible.
It's great.
But it's not.
It's great.
Yeah.
So it comes in a jar, and you put 1 scoop in water, smoothie, whatever you want to do. My son will drink it in just water, just to show you how good it is. I normally have to kind of force feed him his green vegetables. But it's 1 full serving of fruits and vegetables in 1 scoop, and you mix it in whatever you want, and it tastes great. So then you get your vegetables so you can be healthy, and also you can keep your wives from nagging you about eating more vegetables.
Amen.
That in itself should sell you on this. You need it in your life. It's brickhouseblaze.com. Use promo code GREENS for 15% off your first order, or you can text GREENS to 41411. Glenn.
So do you remember what Jim Acosta, you remember what that whole thing was about, so many weeks ago or days ago? 2 weeks ago, Jim Acosta's, escorted out. He loses his pass. Everybody goes crazy. Well, what was that really about? Forget the scandal. What was he talking about? He was accusing the president of what? Of lying about the immigration problem. He said, "You're calling this an invasion. This is not an invasion. They're just a few people that are trying to get up here and be safe."
Hundreds of miles away.
And they're hundreds of miles away. It's going to be a long time before they get here. And they will not be climbing the wall. Well, then we look at what happened over the weekend. And that's exactly what this was. This was an invasion. These people were, about 1,000 of them, were trying to go around and avoid our border. That didn't work. Trump closed the border. Meanwhile, the press is talking about how come Donald Trump is so obsessed with this. Well, wait a minute. You guys were the ones who told us that he was only obsessed with this because of the election. Well, the election's over. Now he's still obsessed with this. Maybe it has something to do with rule of law. There's a reason people come here. It could be because you're selling drugs. You want to make lots of money. 2, you just want to live in a country and make money, and you don't really care about anything other than work, and you want a nice place. 3, this is the one we should care about. The people who want to come to America are fleeing for a reason, trying to get out in refugee status, but that's not who we're talking about here. Because Mexico has offered these people refugee status. They're not taking Mexico up. They're coming here either for just want to make money or they have other purposes. It's not that they're refugees. That's what we keep hearing. And if I hear one more story about how this poor mother and child, what responsible mother of any race, color, or creed takes their child, A, to this. Okay, well, maybe they had to flee Honduras, and so that's what they're doing. Okay. The government is saying, the government of Mexico will put you up. You can stay here while they process your papers. These people are saying, we're not waiting. We're just going to go. What responsible mother does that? No responsible mother does that. You have no sympathy. No sympathy.
The Border Patrol said, I think I saw it was either on an interview last night or today, that many of the women and children, like that one famous photo that's circulating everywhere right now, with the kids in their diapers and everything. I mean, that's the only photograph they're showing. They're not showing the rock throwers. They're not showing any of that. Just that one photo.
And Jason, why is that?
Because they know that's standard operating procedure for the media. Standard operating procedure, and we've seen this time and time again. You've seen it in Gaza. You've seen it with the way Israel. They never show what precipitates the action or the response.
In
ever.
April, when they first were talking, that first group that was coming towards the border, okay, that never materialized, we followed that. And I said, they are going to make this into a Gaza-Israeli border issue. This is going to be the Palestinians against the evil Jews, except it's going to be whatever, Hondurans, South Americans, Central Americans against the evil Americans. That is exactly what they're doing. Mexico is building a little refugee camp for them. Those refugees will never go away, and the press will always make them into the poor, wayward people, and America, the big bad monster.
1,000 people in that one camp, 1,000 people rushed that one area. I heard that there was around 5,000 currently in Tijuana right now that have trickled in.
There are 20,000 in the next few weeks.
And yeah, I heard 9,000 in the next couple of days. I didn't hear the 20,000.
Yeah, 20,000 in the next 2 weeks.
Where do you think these people are going to go? Like, it takes, I can't remember how long they said it. It takes weeks to process one asylum application.
People of Mexico are already tired of these people because they're seeing, you can't call them racist. What do you call them racist for? They're tired of it. Did you see the fights with the waiter and the people who are rejecting food and saying, oh, I don't want this isn't enough? Who are these people?
They're supposedly passing around "Make Tijuana Great Again" hats now. It's supposed to be like a thing
Stop.
down
Are you
there.
serious?
Yeah, they're actually getting really frustrated with the whole situation.
Oh, I want one of those.
Yeah, it's amazing, and the way the media covers it is always so stunning. I mean, like they're so obsessed with Donald Trump, so they make this whole issue about him and whether he's talking about it before the election, and whether he's talking about it after the election. And look, Donald Trump has talked a lot about the border, but the border has been a conservative issue for a long time. When Donald Trump was back as a Democrat and as an independent, we were all talking about the border.
The one thing that conservatives were pissed off about with Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, it was like the one complaint.
It's one of the only things I can ever point to and say Reagan failed the conservatives here, and it was the border.
CNN has been obsessing about Fox's coverage about the caravans, which again, shouldn't you be talking about the actual issue? Why are you talking about their coverage of their coverage of their coverage? But they produced a graph of how many times the word caravan was actually said on Fox, and their thesis was basically like they talked about it before the election, they didn't talk about it afterwards. But the graph doesn't show it at all. I mean, yes, it shows a very low amount of caravan talk right at the election, but it actually shows the amount of caravan talk as in the days leading up to the election decreasing. So it's decreasing as we get closer to the election. There's a few days of election sort of recap and everything else, and then it ramps right back up to at the same or higher levels. I mean, so now they're complaining about Fox talking about it too much. Then they're complaining about them not talking about it enough right after the election, and now they're complaining about them not talking about it too much again. This is just insanity. It is a real issue. The caravan, thousands of people crossing our border is a real issue. It's not one we're well prepared to handle. And
no country is.
Yeah, no country.
If we allow this to happen, the reason why good people, want to come here and leave their own country, nobody wants to leave their own home country. That would take an awful lot. It's either economic or you're under some sort of duress. But if you're under some sort of duress, it's most likely because the law doesn't matter in your country anymore. It doesn't protect you. There's no equal status under the law. And you can never predict it because whoever bribes wins. Well, that's what you're coming here for. The minute we allow our border to be lawless, what's the difference between us and Honduras? There is no difference. You cannot have a lawful, lawless country.
Yeah.
I'm really, really interested in who has taken over the organization of a lot of this now. Because I know we looked into this in the beginning, and a lot of this was just started by this political movement in Honduras. We even had a listener write in and say that's exactly what's going on. You know, it's a leftist Marxist group that is trying to get publicity for what's going on in Honduras. But now I don't know who has taken the reins on this.
Let's take a look at that, because I remember I talked to somebody who was watching it, and they said that they understood that the left was going to start aiding them if they arrived in Mexico intact.
At some point, it becomes bigger than whatever internal issue, right? That
Yeah,
Honduras
no,
had.
now this is a big issue for the left. I can guarantee you there's funding.
Well, I heard on some other outlet where they said that Pueblo Sinfronteras had gotten back involved, and you've already exposed some of the money that was going.
Catholic organization? No, that's the other organization.
That was the CARA was the group that Soros funds that was sending on the ground coordinators to aid them. So I would assume that they're still involved. I'm not sure yet, but if that's the case, then that's evidence that there is, Soros money, other, who knows.
So what you're saying is Jewish money.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. You have this guy on the air. You have this guy on the air just talking about Jews.
Never stops.
Never stops.
Never stops.
All right,
Even when he's not talking about Jews.
He's talking about Jews.
let's take a
It's
break
like
before we
CNN.
get
You're
into
either
the terrifying things.
Talking about Jews too much? Not at all.
And
Or
get
not
this
enough.
one, too.
Yeah. I love that one too, because they're like, oh, how can it be Jewish? Investments, blah, blah, blah.
Still, we have got a lot to get into with China, but before we do that, want to thank our sponsor, iTarget Pro.
We should totally do that first.
Right?
Yeah, that's better.
So, I mean, it's usually better than hearing anything from you.
I agree.
But I know I've said this before, but I have been loving my iTarget Pro since I've gotten it. Jason, I know you're former military, so you understand the importance of dry firing your weapon.
Got to dry fire. I mean, it's such a perishable skill. I mean, shooting. But if you only shoot like once a year, you're gonna be awful at it.
Yeah.
I used to be a great shooter.
whoa.
I'm not.
I was. I'm not speaking for you.
I still am a great shooter.
I did not ever
the only talent
practice.
I have.
Actually, I was at my parents' on their ranch over the break, and I spent so much on ammo, and I was like, "This is stupid. Why did I do this? I should have just stayed home."
It's the only option you have. I mean, you either go to the range and you spend a ton of money on ammo, or you do kind of what my granddad told me: is you just stick a little penny on the end of your barrel and you try to shoot, and if the penny stays on, then you're not yanking your trigger. It's just little things like that it's.
Or you get iTarget.
Or you get iTarget Pro. Thank you, Jason, for selling this so well. This is the new and improved version of your grandfather's trick.
Right.
And this one is actually fun. It's almost a game.
Yeah. It really is. It really is. And you can play with, you can see who shoots the best, or you can just play the game with yourself and see, how much better you can get. So you can go to itargetpro.com and you can save 10% right now and get free shipping using promo code NEWS. That is itargetpro.com. All right, Black Mirror.
Yes.
Essentially.
I feel happy that you live in a country that you can get an iTarget Pro and actually a firearm, because there's a lot of places around the world where you can't. China is a very difficult place to live for pretty much everybody, and they are implementing a social credit system, very similar to the episode of Black Mirror. And I swear Black Mirror had to have based it on this. They didn't just make it up.
Yeah.
But anyway, it is a social credit system, and it's what you're supposed to come out and have good interactions with people, not commit crimes, not criticize the government, all the things that China holds dear. And if you do those things, you will have a good social credit score. If you do not, you will have a bad one. And so the idea was by 2020, this was supposed to be fully implemented. We've talked about it before, and that it seems like there's parts of, we've talked about bits and pieces of it that have been rolled out. Well, they decided to just come out and start bragging about what they were doing instead of trying to keep it under wraps in any way.
This is limited. This is not with Beijing. This is nothing. This is limited rollout.
They say so far they have prevented 11.1 million people from boarding flights that they wanted to board. 11.1 million. They have stopped another 4 million people from taking high-speed rail to places they wanted to go to. And they have stopped another, I believe it's 3 million people who were on high-speed rail and wanted to go business class, and they rejected them from going business class. They had to go coach.
So that's not like you because you're a terrorist.
No.
That's because you might have jaywalked. You might be talking to somebody online. You might have posted something on social media.
Criticize the government.
Criticize the government. These are not big necessarily.
Right.
Yes.
There was a story, I think just a few months ago, there was a journalist that one little line he put in there that the government perceived as being anti-communist
Yes.
party. So his kids, dropped his credit score so low, his social credit score so low, that it knocked his kids out of the school they were going to. Like, I guess you have to maintain a certain
His
level.
kids-
They couldn't go to that school anymore.
No, they can't go to school.
Period.
If you get, there are many levels. Like you can't buy a house. You can't have banking services. You can't go to the best schools. You can't go to any school.
To any school?
Yeah, they just strip you. And listen to what the Chinese said.
Yeah, one of their officials said once you get to a certain point, the people who violate this system, the quote is, "You will not be able to take even one step." Okay, like this is what they're admitting to, and it's
Right,
very early.
and proud of.
And proud of. Very proud of.
Now, they are also working now with Maduro for Venezuela. He's asked for this system to be implemented over there. But I bring you more good news. Today, the new patents from Google. Google has just filed for some patents for total surveillance of your family and your house. It will now talk to every device. It will be able to see you and recognize. It will recognize what you're wearing. If there's a face on the t-shirt, it will monitor absolutely everything, including your children. And this is going to be very helpful. Google said that they're going to now be able to help with the discipline of your children. So you can say, Google, I got to run out to the store. Can you watch the kids?
No.
Yes. Yes, they can. And they will lock the house down if the kids start to violate social media, speaking ill of one another. You tell Google what that means, and Google will do it. It first blinks the lights, then it will turn the house lights red, and then it shuts everything off for the kids until you come home.
Oh my God, that's
I mean,
terrifying.
it is, congratulations. We don't need China to do it. We're doing it ourselves.
I think that's maybe the most interesting part of us as Americans right now. It's like, at some level, I think the China thing still feels like communist China, right? Like crazy things that communist China does. But on the other side of it is we are so far down this road of embracing this stuff, and I am very guilty of this. Like I like these little niceties. I like the fact that I can just, I can say, Alexa and say a song and it comes on. Like, I mean, there's a lot that I really like about this.
Turned on everyone.
I know, I love that. I should have picked a really annoying song to turn on in everybody's house. But I mean, it goes from, I like all of these little things. We were talking about the Nest. It's from Google, and it's like, it is easier. It does save you money.
A microphone.
Well, the new ones do. I don't think
the new ones do.
Old ones do. But still, I mean, like, they are, and all this stuff is more and more invasive, and every step of the way, it feels kind of all right. You're like,
for instance, look at this one. Google says it's going to be monitoring people's moods. And it will know if you're depressed, but it will be able to communicate with everything in your house. So it's going to communicate with your refrigerator. How many times has this person opened the refrigerator door in the last 3 hours? How many is that? Because that's a sign of depression. And so it will.
Kind of life is what I think.
For me, it's if I'm ever on the phone, I pace the house, and I always end up at the refrigerator, open it, look, close it.
A long phone call is worth at least 2,000 calories every single time.
So I mean, it's just. It's here. It's coming.
It's already here. And if you think about, like, China can do this because they're communist China, they can do what the heck they want to do to their citizens. And just what you said, we're willingly giving ourselves over to this. They think about all the tech companies right now. Twitter. We're already seeing, like, Twitter, Google, Facebook, all these places, all of these companies that we rely on, they're now judging what is, like Twitter just said that it's not legal on their platform to say that to criticize the trans movement. Now they're just going to kick you off. Period. Yeah. They're coming up with all these reasons why your opinion does not matter. Who's telling them what is legitimate or not? People like Media Matters. People on the left typically are the ones doing this. But it's more than just social media. So people like the guy that writes about Islam, Robert Spencer, he was kicked off of Patreon for criticizing Islam. Went even beyond that. He was kicked off of PayPal, MasterCard, credit cards. This is already happening. They're already shutting people out of financial systems.
The difference is progressives knew they couldn't get it through the Congress this way. It will come through Congress. Guarantee you in the next 5 years, it will come through Congress. Congress, the president, whoever that might be at the time, and Silicon Valley, Google, Amazon, they will merge. Guarantee it. So they knew they couldn't get it through the West, through the front door. And so what they had to do is go not 1984. They went Brave New World. They made it into a sexy package. In China, you don't care what the people think. They can do 1984, but they both end the same way. Both those stories end the same way.
Yeah. I also noticed Facebook, I think I heard you guys talking about this on radio, that Facebook is launching a similar, Alexa type deal.
Yes.
Which is like, why would you want Facebook to be the one who?
Yeah.
Facebook is
messaging. You can do calls inside of it. You can. I mean, it's fairly impressive.
You really want Facebook watching you. They don't have a bad track record when it comes to privacy at all.
There was a study I saw that took all of the big giant media companies and showed which ones are the most invasive, which ones have more information on you than anybody else. The two of them that really stood out was Google and Facebook. And Facebook was a check in almost every box. There were only a few that were left, and now Facebook's seemingly falling apart over in Europe. It has, it's losing shares here in America. People are not using it as much as they were. They don't have credibility. I think it's in trouble.
You had that guest, that podcast guest. I don't remember who it was, but they did a documentary on why Google.
TheCreepyLine.com.
That's what it was. That was freaky. Like I never wondered why they made Google Chrome. I was like, just to be a competitor to Explorer. No, to track all of your web movements. Why'd they do Android phones? Because they knew that you weren't just sitting at your computer all day. You were traveling. You were walking and going places. They wanted to track you everywhere you went. Yeah. I mean, that's just so spooky.
Before we go, do I get any bonus points for, like, I have Alexa, but I unplug her when I don't use her? Is that?
No, I think the bonus points go to me, who doesn't have one.
Or me, who has like 5 of them. I can't remember.
No.
They're so cheap now. Did you see on Black Friday? They're like
Black Friday.
They're now giving them to you with other purchases.
Yes.
That's how much they love you having them.
I wonder why.
I saw this. The price of this is so cheap now, and I thought the same thing.
Echo Dot, yeah.
They are gathering information. That's why it's so cheap. They're gathering information.
But they're so convenient.
You're the product.
All right, back in a minute.
They're minorly helpful in certain circumstances.
Really convenient.
I can just ask what the temperature is outside.
But they play music in my... Glenn, you guys are headed back out on the road this week?
Tampa on Friday, Orlando on Saturday.
Yeah, show's a lot of fun. People are gonna, I think, really like it. It's
lots of fun.
Except for Stu being there. They might not like that part.
Oh, I didn't say the entire, I mean, just the show in general.
My son is coming,
yeah.
and he is seriously trying to open. He's 15. He wants to be a comedian.
Oh, let him do it.
No, my gosh, no, I'm not letting him. And he's like, Dad, I'm telling you, I can give you 3.5 tight. I'm telling you, I'm like, where are you picking this up?
He loves the comedy. He's a big stand-up.
Oh, yeah, he's
That's
a big stand-up
so
guy.
cute.
Yeah.
Oh, I think you should let him.
No, 15 is not a cute age.
Oh.
No, it's not.
GlennBeck.com/tour. You can get your tickets. Also, go to shop.theblaze.com. We've got all new merch for you. Cyber Monday, you can get 20% off.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Oh, look at
you
Colonel Sanders.
You can get Glenn on a pillow. Why would you not want that? It should be a staple in everyone's house, mandated by the government.
Yeah, I don't think so.
See you guys in overtime.
Points in the China social credit system.